All right, so the question is, I know you went, right?
I did.
Awesome. Did you go? Did you end up making it?
No, I was out of town. I
Let's
was
see.
flying on an airplane.
I get it.
Freezing out there.
Trust me, all right. When my alarm went off at 3:45, all right, and I was supposed to be taking off 12 hours from now, and still going to get there before I was going to get there driving.
Yeah.
I was not real excited about this fact, all right. So I'm hoping that they make some adjustments soon. Is the plan.
It's not recorded.
So with that being said, well, we'll talk about this in a second when we get there. The reason, it was a real, I think I posted on there. It killed me not to go, not to be there because I'm an event guy. I'm a, you know what I mean, like where's the next party kind of thing. All right. And I bet it was a
Take
good
pictures
time.
on
I
that.
have to hear about all that. That's fun. I likened it to, it's like kind of like being sick on the day your class is going on a field trip.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's exactly what it was.
That's right. See, exactly. But that being said, it was Jeanette, my wife, she's up until now has been a very high-ranking executive anywhere she's gone. She's in the finance arena. She's been several different places, most recently with the Outback Corporation, very high up. And she's taking a step back just to, kids are, you know, in school and just getting things, you know, and so she's very purposefully done that. So it's very hard for her to step out of that into this role of, you know, stay-at-home mom kind of gig. So I have to be very sensitive to that. As you know, as I'm negotiating through this, and it was a discipline thing for me to not just hop on a plane, fly down here, and be here for the event. And it was kind of a denying of myself, if you will, to do that. So that's why I wasn't here. But it was very hard for me to do because it's also I wanted to prove myself that I could, prove to her, you know, that I could, and that I'm expecting. Because she, I mean, quite frankly, she gets calls from headhunters all the time offering jobs that, I mean, most people would jump out like in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And she's said, no, I'm gonna stay and make sure I'm there to have, you know, cookies ready when my son comes home from 6th grade, so he feels, you know what I mean? And so it's just a conscious decision she's made. So I gotta be very sensitive to that, and I want to be sensitive to that. So that was the reason behind that.
So you were being sensitive.
Well, you know what I mean? Begrudgingly or not, yes. And so I have to retrain my body to do that.
You know what? That's really important.
That's right. And so, and you know what? The good thing is that I learned a long time ago that things go on just fine without me. And she's quick to point that out, that the times that I stay away from the business is when it grows the best. So you ever notice that we were in Russia 4 straight times, and that's what we decided to move to Tennessee, is that we were adopting a little boy from Russia. And every time we went to Russia, all right, for like 8 to 10 days at a time, right, we come back and Jim had grown the business. I'm like, okay, so am I, you know, if I'm not here, is it that big of a deal in the whole scheme of things, you know? And so it's a little dose we're having, you know, ego check there. It's like, nah, I guess it's, you know.
Well,
best thing-
obviously you were missed. Obviously you
Well,
were
right,
missed.
and that's fine.
You were
Exactly.
missed
And if I'm there all the
today.
time, how am I ever miss if I'm there all the time, right? Exactly.
right.
Absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Yeah, see, and next time when you're there, people will appreciate.
See, there you go. Absolutely. If I'm there all the time, I'll do it. So
And pretty soon she'll be begging you to leave.
that's right. Exactly. And she does that on occasion. Yeah, it only lasts.
It won't be loud.
It's just
You can go.
yeah. So all that being said, that's the reason why we're gone. So
No.
how's everybody doing? I knew we were gonna have a smaller crew today. What's that? Yeah, right. Exactly. She can do all that. I was telling her, I think you change days and keep things moving on. We tend to lose people. Probably plenty of people show up either tomorrow or Thursday morning.
Exactly.
Oh, I'm not here.
I was gonna
That's
say.
okay, they can join us for GRI tomorrow.
There you go. See, awesome. So we'll crank through this. I want to hear about the Michael Merriman. We'll get to that in a second. Also wanted to talk briefly about our schedule coming up and some things that we have going on that will be before the next session. We're going to do before each one. We're going to do an incorporating seminar. You guys, anybody here incorporating? as an
Not
agent?
yet.
Okay, good. You should cover that because there's a reason why. And it's not legal protection and all that kind of stuff because quite frankly, any good attorney can pierce through any corporate veil that they want to pierce through. And so it's not all that legal protection. If you wonder why people have PA behind their name or LLC as agents, it's all tax savings. It's all about the money. And I'm going to show you real quickly. It'll take me 30 minutes to run through why the benefit. Because someone had told me forever, I should, and they never could explain to me why. Like I said, hey, look, I don't mind spending money if I'm going to count it as an investment. Investment meaning I'm going to gain more back than I put in. Okay, then that's my definition of investment. But no one's, you can write off all your expenses. Well, guess what? I write off all my expenses already, right? As a Schedule C filer is what you guys are right now. You file a Schedule C attachment to your taxes. You get to write off everything anyway. So that's not the reason. The reason is, we'll see later. It's not on your income tax even. It's on your FICA, it's your Social Security. That 15.3%. I don't know if you do your own taxes, or if you pay attention when your taxes are done. That's the thing that bites you in the backside. Is that you are self-employed, meaning you are both employee and employer. And when you're an employee, someone paid the other half of FICA for you, and you paid half. You didn't even know you were paying half because we have become very net check mentality oriented in this society. It's like, what do you make? Well, I bring home $425 a week. I said, no, what do you gross? I bring home $425 a week. And trust me, the government likes it that way. They like it that we just have become that. We're not even paying attention to what's going out of our checks anymore, right? And so self-employed people tend to pay attention more because they're having to write a check at the end of the year, like, oh my crap, and they write this big check, and then they tend to pay attention a little bit better. So we'll go over that all before, be like 45 minutes before each session that we do 100K next time. We'll go over that, and then we'll talk about November 19th is another date you want to mark down as far as bank-owned. It's like a bank-owned seminar that we'll be doing. Be putting down. Cool? Awesome. All right, let's get cranked up. All right, so remember this slide. We always start with this one. This sounds great. How we're going to do it. Here's our goal from the very beginning. How we're going to study those who are doing it and have done it. We're going to learn from others in the room. We're going to focus on income-producing activities. We're going to hire out the non-income producing activities. We're going to learn from our mistakes, growing personally, which we're all continuing to do. We'll feed off the synergy in the room. Speaking of synergy in the room, did you guys read the post? She's not even a future home agent, actually. Julie Whitmore Brantley, I can't remember, on Facebook on the 100K group page. She had over 50 people through her bank-owned open house on Sunday.
No.
50.
Wow.
Read that post. Okay? Get this. She said she decided to go out and put them out early. She decided to go out and put her signs out early, even before the 1 o'clock scheduled opening. And she was like in her shorts and t-shirts and her hair up in a bun, she said, or whatever I think the post said. And she had people stopping her, following her in then, like at 10 a.m. to see it on Sunday. And since later on, she had over 50 people through. Now again, is that going to happen every time? Probably not. But did she get a good spot? Yes. Can I tell you this about bank-owned open houses? If you're not doing them and you don't have business, you need to do them. If you do not have business right now and you're lacking business, you need to do bank-owned open houses. If Julie is one who, again, not with Future Homes, so she questioned me. She has a partner, and she's, why are we doing banking? He's not coming to 100K, she is. And she comes to the night sessions, usually in Oldsmar. And she said to me, well, why? I don't know. Bob said to do them. All right. And so they did one on a Thursday. They had like 9 people through on a Thursday afternoon, which isn't bad. He's like, hey, this works pretty good, on a Thursday afternoon. But then I kept telling her, I said, do one on the weekend. I'm just telling you, you're going to see, it's going to blow up. She goes, well, why bank-owned again? I was trying to explain to my partner why, and the answer is because people smell value. They think it's going to be a deal. It's different than a regular open house. They see regular open houses all day long. This is something different. So I said, do it. And she finally gave in and did it. And now she's like, hey, I'm a convert. You know what I mean? I get it. Now, I can't guarantee that type of response every time, but I'm just telling you that if you don't have business, it's the single best thing to do, in my opinion, if you are looking for new business. If you got tons of leads and you got people crawling all over you saying, hey, I need some of your time to buy a house, that's great. Go for it. But if you are new in the business or trying to reinvent or get things amped up. And what happens is this, I don't know, I believe it's out there, is that when you're active, then activity happens. Activity breeds activity, you know what I mean? And just because you were willing to do it, to do something different, then something different happens. You know what I mean? The karma, the metasphere, the whatever you want to call it out there, happens just that you were willing to do something different, then something different happens than everybody else. The other realtors are, just do the typical realtor thing. So read that. It's an amazing post, and I did put on a quick comment in that. You're not one to say I told you so, but what took you 8 weeks to get here? To get to that point to finally break down and do it. So, be upstairs and live in accountability. What's that?
The first she said, "Go, Julie, go."
That's right, exactly.
Yeah, I'm right here. She doesn't say where. Do you have any idea?
I think she was in Carrollwood. I think she lives up in the Carrollwood area of Tampa, and she wanted something that was close. And so she first started out, well, how do you find a bank-owned open house? So, well, you start calling bank-owned listing agents. Well, how would I do that? Well, you start calling, just trying to figure out what And she was like, called 3, and they all said no. I said, keep calling. I said, you'll find one that says yes. And then I think she was one later. She and I had a personal discussion. This is a good point. I wanted to bring this up. She even asked me. She said, "Okay, I finally got one, right?" So she finally had one that was ready to sit. She asked, "Would it be what was the word? Would it be rude of me, I think, to ask the listing agent to post it in the MLS as an open house? Because you can put an open house in the MLS." And I said, I've never done that. I said, let me think about it. And I said, well, first of all, I doubt they're going to do it. Because it's hard enough to take a call anyway, right? This REO agent just even give you the
They're the worst.
I know, they are. Okay, well, it's because they don't want to see people. All right? They are just listing machines. They're paper pushers. All right? REO listing agents, for the most part. Now, we have one, Don Diggs, who actually has a personality, who's with our office. Actually, it's pretty good, all right? But she's kind of unique. Most of them, back in the day when I was doing them, I said they had 2 fax machines. It tells you how long I've been doing this. What's a fax machine? Okay, they had 2 fax machines. One fax machine would take incoming listings from Dallas, wherever Fannie Mae was headquartered, and sending in all these listings. And the other fax machine was a separate line that was designated for receiving offers. And they wanted to hide in this office all day and never see a soul. All right? They don't care about working with buyers, and that's just not who they are. Cool, get it. I wouldn't want to be that way. Quite frankly, I would pass out having to stay in the office all day long, right? So God bless them. I'm glad they do what they do. Now they have 2 email accounts. One email account is the incoming listings from Dallas and Fannie Mae. Some things never change. And the other is a separate email for incoming offers. So they don't like to deal with people. They would rather just put in the MLS, not ever talk to somebody and have the offers go through, ship that over, package it up, forward that email to the bank, let the bank make the decision, email everybody back and say we're done, it's now under contract. Boom, never had to see a soul. All right, perfect. So realize that. So I said I doubt that agent will be willing to take the extra step to put it in, number 1. Number 2, really, as I'm thinking about it through, really not a benefit to you, because who are you going to attract through an open house in the MLS? You're going to attract 1 or 2 people, other agents, right, who have buyers looking for that property, which you don't care because you're not the listing agent. You're not going to share in that, right? If another agent brings an offer in, then you don't get a piece of that action, right? So that doesn't really matter to you. Number 1. Number 2, or other buyers who already have searches attached probably to another agent. So they're working with another agent already anyway. Remember, the goal of these is to find unattached, single. Okay, we're looking for single, buyers, right? People that don't have a relation, not currently in a relationship is what their Facebook thing would say, right?
Real estate dating.
There you go, absolutely, right? We're looking for the singles. We're looking, we're on the hunt, all right? So for those single people that aren't attached right now. So I don't think. So she said, "Oh yeah, that makes sense. We wouldn't necessarily want to do that." Plus, I doubt. Now she did call me back too. Said I think she was the one that said, I got a strange request. The guy said I'm allowed to do it, but he wants me to take a picture of my open house sign in front of the house. Because why would he do that? And I said, well, he's probably wants to show his asset manager right? Because the asset manager is the person who's in charge of 500 foreclosures for the bank, and then they divvy them out to their listing agents. So he reports to his asset manager. He wants to show his asset manager that open houses are occurring, and he's doing as much as he can to market the home. I said, that's perfect, because that's the kind of relationship you want. You want that win-win. Hey, look, the reason you're allowing me to sit in an open house is I'm helping you with the problem too. You've got a problem that says your asset manager wants these things marketed in every way possible. Cool. Let me take that off your plate for you and get the buyers. That's all I care about. And if we can sell the home that we're sitting in, even better. You know, and so I said, that's perfect. She goes, oh, okay, never thought about that. And I said, yeah, so that's why they're asking. So that's a good sign, is if they ask you for that. So now you're doing that. Now, again, is it going to work all the time, every way? No, but I'm just telling you, she's now a convert. All right, she now has heard me say it. All right, probably a lot. Ever since the very first class, I think we introduced the concept of bank-owned open houses, and now she's a convert. It's just I don't know, something magically happens. So it's just doing that. Living a disciplined life. There's freedom and structure. There's freedom in saying no. I'm not going to fly down and just go to the event because I'm an event guy and I love events, and leave my wife one more day to pick up the kids from school and do all that kind of stuff that you know, she's trying to talk herself into doing every day anyway. All right, and she's used to flying around in corporate jets. All right, and so this is a big change for her. So I got to be sensitive to that. So there's freedom and structure. Did you guys catch the consistently evaluate progress? We talked about neighbor Bill and neighbor Robert, right? Okay, last time. You remember that? Once again, I think I posted that I weeded my flower bed in about 45 seconds. All right, because once it's clean, it's easy to keep clean, and I get to weed weeds with my forefinger and my thumb. All right, because they haven't taken real big root, because I just checked it 2 days ago. Right. So anything that's popped up in the last 2 days can be picked this way. When I wait too long is when I have to get the backhoe out to get a root out that's this big, because I let it get too big, right? So that's the whole, you know, success principles are success principles, guys. I mean, they've been around forever. And do you know why the top 2% earn the top 2%? Because for the most part, don't get me wrong, there are some people are born with bigger advantages than others. All right, I've learned that most people born with huge advantages tend to squander those advantages anyway. That the true people who are the winners in life now are the ones that have decided to make a change in their life somehow. You know what I mean? I'm an example of, I'm a huge chain breaker in my family. You know, if you look at, I've studied poverty, and because I'm really, one of my passions, one of my things that I like to give money to and put time and effort into is helping people out of the poverty cycle. Because I was in it. All right, I look at my family, and my family was in a poverty cycle, and it is a cycle, because it becomes very much unbroken. People do what they only, you only know what you know, right? And so, you know, we've learned in studying, and nonprofits have even learned, reading a great book right now called When Helping Hurts. And it's meaning that you're actually hurting people sometimes with the type of help we're giving, right? We've heard it before, it's, teach me how to fish, don't give me a fish. All right, and they're starting to get that, like even some of these Compassion International and World Vision, some of these places. My son Joseph is real, it's in his heart. He's a big giver, and he earns money for grades and household chores and stuff like that. So he loves to give, and this is his time of the year because he gives to I think it's World Relief, or I can't remember. It's a Christian-based organization that helps around the world. But he's already got it mapped out what he's going to give. Like for $315, he's going to 2 goats, 4 chickens, 6 ducks. You know what I mean? You can get all this stuff, and you actually are going and you're changing almost a village, because with 2 goats, 4 chickens, and 2 ducks, they can have eggs that will grow into other ducks and chickens, but then also have protein to eat and all this kind of stuff. And so they're learning that, hey, rather than just go give them an egg, all right, to eat, Let's give them something where we can teach them a way of life. Let's teach them how to, literally teach them how to fish. That there are people that they're building, fish ponds and stocking them and showing them, hey, let's not eat all the fish. Let's leave them so they can reproduce and create more fish. And this becomes a, thing. So when you study that and do it, it's throwing money at something is not the answer. All right. If the war on poverty has taught us anything as a government, it's that we're no better off than we were in 1968 when we started this war on poverty. We've thrown trillions of dollars at it, and nobody's better off. Right? And the answer is because we're not solving the root problem. Right? We're not curing we're treating a symptom rather than curing the disease, if you will. All right. And so, how do we go about that and do that? And we have to look. Sometimes I had to look at it in my own life. Right? Is that I had a root symptom. A root disease that I needed to cure and break a cycle and break away from my family history and some other stuff that was going on. So anyway, I don't know why I got off on that, but it's.
Well, it has everything to do with what we're doing.
Oh, success principles. That's where it came from.
Because
right, exactly.
it has everything to do with it because you have to change your mindset. If you're always thinking poverty, I can't afford that, I can't do that, I can't.
Right.
Because that's what you heard growing up all your life. I'm the oldest of 6. Do you think my parents were rich? No. And they drilled it into our heads all the time. We don't have money for that, we don't have money for that, we don't have money for that. In order to get past that, I've had to do things like listen to the programming over and over again. You put the headphones in, just keep telling you that you're wealthy. I've done the Vamala Rogers handwriting because it reprograms your subconscious.
Yeah.
And I've done a whole bunch of that stuff because I had to break out of that because every chance I got, I was in a panic about money. And it got to the point where it was ridiculous. And one day I sat back and I looked and I said, you know what? I haven't ended up homeless yet. I haven't starved to death. Nothing really, really bad has happened except for me panicking about whatever happened.
Right.
So,
and when we panic, we tend not to make the best decisions, right?
Right.
Right? We're making rash, instantaneous, knee-jerk reactions instead of well thought out. That there's a reason why money grows when it is. What is the word I? First of all, people always wonder why is all this money going to foreign countries? Well, guess what? Money, like anything else, is going to go where it's well treated. Okay, all right. If you're going to tax me to death, I'm going to find other places to go with my money. It's just flat out. It's just the way it is. And so, with that same thing, it's just that we do have to reprogram. You're dead on, Barbara. Is that, quite frankly, I think I've told you the story. My family still celebrates. My parents who are both now passed away, but I'm honest enough to sit there and look at, hey, look, they did the best they could. But I'm not here to tell you they left me with this great legacy. They didn't. You know what I mean? They did the best they could, but you guys can go ahead and celebrate them all you want and hold them up in this high esteem. But I get why they were the way they were, but let's not kid ourselves here. All right, they didn't teach us success principles. All right, they did. I had to go out and reprogram. I had to go out and reprogram.
Oh yeah.
Myself.
My parents and grandparents, they taught us how to be poor.
Sure.
They taught you how to panic, how to worry, how to know that when they die, you guys are gonna have to figure out how you're gonna pay for it.
Yeah.
At the moment they die.
Yeah.
We're not gonna have money for our own debt.
Yeah.
We're not even gonna have that.
Yeah, not only we're not gonna leave you an inheritance, you're gonna leave you a bill.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I get we're all, we all come from different spots, right? And so that's cool. And if you had a family that was doing this, and it's funny that you say that because not only did my parents not leave me with a legacy of wealth, but my parents, I think I've been pretty unabashed in my Christianity, right? You guys are pretty familiar with the fact that I'm a Christian. I am pretty unabashed about my belief. That being said, the thing that I have to fight with in the churches and all the time is that they glorify brokenness. All right, churches, they do. I mean, trust me. I mean, my parents were at church every Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, Wednesday nights, and every time in between, every time the doors were open. And all that we're being taught is that there's holiness in poverty, right? And you hear that at some churches. And I'm not saying this is, and then you got the other end, which, people saying, if you just believe, then all of a sudden that's all you have to do, and money rains down from heaven. All right, and I'm not a believer in that either. It's not this health, wealth, and prosperity. Just believe it'll happen. I think believing is start, but then you've got to put some work behind it as well. Okay, but that being said, it was easy for them. They loved going to church because they were just surrounded by a bunch of other broke people who glorified and said, well, you guys are further along your road to heaven because you're broker. You know what I mean? And I heard that. And so, now it's just, I don't know. I just sought my own path. That's what I'm saying. And so some of us need to do that sometimes, that we need to break out and seek our own path. But that being said, where I was headed with all this was that the success principles are success principles. These are just, principles. There's a reason why you're like top executives, CEOs, you see pictures of them, and they're pretty neat, trim, well fit, and all that kind of stuff. It's because there's discipline involved in that. You know what I mean? And there's carryover. Whether we want to admit it or not, that you don't see a ton. There are exceptions to every rule. I get that. But for the most part, people that are successful, they are disciplined in all areas of their life. And that's the big difference between success and not success. Because it takes discipline. It's easier to not be disciplined and just say, I would rather not go out and sit a bank on an open house. I'd rather not go to the gym. I'd rather not, whatever I'm going to do today, it's just easier not to do it. And so there's just life patterns is what I'm trying to say, I guess, is that you start to set these life patterns and it all correlates. That's why, from early on we talked about doing our cardiovascular exercise and giving away our time and all that kind of stuff. And people say, well, what is that? And it's because it all relates. It really does. Because if you're not going to be disciplined in that, the chances of you getting up out of bed and decided to not go to the Bucks game and go and sit in an open house at a bank of an open house are, pretty slim. All right? Because self-gratification says, that's what I want to do right now. It's, my wife is, Jeanette, she doesn't call my wife. She's more defined than something else than my wife. All right? When I say Jeanette, everybody knows I'm talking about my wife.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to say Jeanette. All right. Jeanette is huge, is far more disciplined earlier in life than I was. And probably, even to the point of I was kind of happening into money because I was working hard, but then I was fribbling, peeing it all away, right? Because I wasn't disciplined in that, and she is the one that taught me how to do that and get to that point of actually, it's okay. Because I was still reverting back to my old thinking, right? Uh-oh, there's money in the bank. Uh-oh, we got to get rid of that. Something's wrong here. This is not normal. There's extra? No, that doesn't fly. Instead of golf club. Do you need golf clubs? No, but there's money in the bank, so we got to get rid of it. You know what I mean? That's not, where, and so I had to retrain my thinking, to get to this way. And there's a lot of new things to do. So he's going to evaluate progress, and we're going to finish the bridge, and we're going to learn to play to our strengths. Now, we get to finish the story today. All right, trombone player 1, this is the last one. This is session number 6, so we get to finish the story and see how it all plays out and do that. Hopefully, they didn't leave a microphone for us today, so hopefully this little speaker that I have will be loud enough. Might take a second to boot up, so get yourself a banana.
Okay, thank you.
You know, today I can say that I'm one of the 2 out of 10. Today, at this point in my career, I can say I'm one of those people that plays to my strengths most of the time. And I know how lucky I am. I've been lucky to have met a bunch of really good people along the way, and lucky to have worked with them. Lucky to have got some of the right breaks at some of the right times. Yeah, lucky for many reasons, but I think most of all, lucky to have met a guy by the name of Don Clifton, back when I was 16 and he was 16. Basically, I just finished high school, and through this happy combination of circumstances, I've met him. We hit it off, and actually hit it off to such an extent that after my time at university, I hightailed it from England all the way to Lincoln, Nebraska, and wound up just working with his company for 17 years, working with the Gallup organization actually for 17 years. It was he who actually showed me that the strengths do exist, and that if you want to see the best of yourself, you're going to have to capitalize on those strengths. It was he who introduced me really to that notion. And while he didn't really tell me what I should do with my life, he did show me what a strong life should look like, what it should feel like. Which was lucky, because a few years ago I found myself slowly but inexorably veering off my strengths path. Basically what had happened is that a project had gone well, and since no big deed goes unpunished, it had managed to morph itself from 1 into 10 different projects that all needed to be managed perfectly, all kind of moved forward in concert, something that I quickly realized I was rotten at and loathed. I'm a focused person. I mean, took me a while to figure this out, but I'm a person that likes working in series from one completed assignment to the next. That's what I like. You give me a year and say, come back with a finished book, and I can get my teeth into that. But you give me 10 different projects to do all at once, and every one of them will come back somehow flawed, and I'll turn into a basket case. Well, luckily for me, Dawn had prepared me to take action before I turned into a basket case. Basically, when the first sort of signs of my own frustration and weakness began to emerge, you know, the constant stress, the inability to find relaxing time relaxing, the loss of any joy, really, or humor in my work, frankly, the inability to be creative or smart. When all of that happened, I knew some things. I knew that what was happening was that my week of work was beginning to fill up with activities that weakened me. I knew too that I couldn't just work my way out of it. I knew that I couldn't work my way out of it with more effort, more hours, or better organization. I knew that what I really needed to do was zero back into those few activities that strengthened me, like writing, like researching, like preparing and giving a formal presentation, like following one project for a client all the way through to its end. And once I'd sat down and done that, and I mean really done that, I mean dug back into those activities that I really looked forward to, I mean genuinely looked forward to, those activities that when I was doing them, I felt just inquisitive, just naturally interested, so much so that I didn't lose focus, I didn't let my mind wander. Or those activities that, when I was done with them, I didn't feel drained and small, I felt big and strong, those activities. Once I'd done that, I knew I needed to then take it upon myself, and it wasn't easy, take it upon myself to go share that information with my manager and my teammates so that together we could gradually, over a number of months, veer me back onto my strengths path, which is, in the end, what happened. So yeah, I was lucky to have my mind prepared. Prepared first to know that a strong life is possible, and second, to know how to stay on a path toward it, despite all of the opportunities, all the possibilities, and all the successes trying to drag me off it. Are you familiar with imposter syndrome? That feeling that maybe you're not quite as good as everyone says you are? That maybe if they turn on the lights really bright and they shine them in all the corners, they'd actually find out that you're faking it, that you're making it up as you go along, that you've sort of been pulling the wool over everyone's eyes all these years? Well, here's the bad news. On one level, you're right to experience imposter syndrome, because the chances are there's somebody better out there. is somebody better than you at building relationships with guests, or making sales, or organizing projects, or finding patterns in data, or whatever it is your job is, chances are there is someone there. But here's the good news, it doesn't matter. Because you can't control how good someone else is at their job. You can't control what anyone else is thinking about you. All you can control is how you choose to spend your time at work. And as you strive to spend that time wisely, there are three things you can be certain of. First, you have wonderful and powerful strengths. Second, no one else has quite the same configuration of strengths as you. And third, you'll make your greatest contribution. You'll be your most productive, your most resilient, your most creative, your most innovative when you figure out a way to play to those strengths most of the time. So whenever you hear that little silly imposter voice whispering in your ear, asking those darn questions, am I as good as I think I am? Am I really living up to my potential? Am I doing what I'm supposed to do with my life? Am I making the biggest contribution? And stop. Please stop. And remember those certainties. Rally around those three certainties. You have wonderful and powerful strengths. No one has quite the same ones as you, and you will make your greatest contribution when you figure out how to play to them. I'm not saying that this is always going to be easy to stay in the strength path. Other people, often well-meaning people, are going to try and pull you off. You'll experience some success, you'll have some sort of achievement, and then new doors will open, new opportunities will present themselves, some of which will play to your strengths, but many won't. Somebody's going to wander up to you and offer you this new promotion, this better title, this bigger job, a bigger desk, and you've got to watch out, otherwise you'll veer off your strength path. To stay on it, I mean, for life, is going to demand so much clear-headedness from you. And I'm not saying that there aren't risks, there are risks. One day you might volunteer one of your strengths and you'll find it not good enough, not quite good enough. One day you'll share your strengths with your teammates or your boss and you'll find they don't get it, they don't understand what you're trying to contribute. So yeah, there's going to be risks. But as a wise woman once wrote, and this is a quote, and the day came when the risk it took to remain tight in the bud became greater than the risk it took to blossom. Well, today can be that day for you. Today can be that day. I mean, yes, there are risks to blossoming. There's risks to betting on your strengths. But for you, from this day forward, the risks of not doing so are greater than the risks of doing so. I believe that it's your responsibility to make the greatest possible contribution while you're here. And I believe that you now know how to do that. I believe that you know how a strength feels and how a weakness feels. I believe you can sort through all the activities of your week at work and pick out those strengths and those weaknesses. I believe you can start to take your strengths seriously. That you know how to stop trying to fix your weaknesses. That you know how to take control of your week at work and veer it toward your strengths and away from that other stuff. I believe you can offer up your strengths to those around you. And that when you do, everyone wins. Your colleagues win, your company wins, your customers win, everyone will win. I believe all of those things. But it doesn't much matter what I believe. In the end, it matters only what you believe. So make tomorrow a different day than today. Make tomorrow a stronger day than today. Make tomorrow the kind of day that starts off with you saying, what are my strengths and how can I bring them? Make every day thereafter that kind of day. You've always known what the best of you is. You've always known it, so trust it. Believe it.
That orchestra director didn't know how good it could sound until he finally gave in, right? Everybody's happy, including him. Um, Pretty cool. Once I think I told you at the very beginning, I'm always impressed with creative people and how they can tell that story behind that. Who decided to come up with that concept to do that is because I'm not that creative, it's not a strength of mine. So you just hire out what you don't have, right, or buy it, right, buy somebody else's creativity and let them do it. But, you know, and again, here's the thing, okay, let's bring it back to us, right? How do we begin to structure our strengths around what we do? Obviously, I'd say 90% of agents, real estate agents, have an inherent strength in people, right? I mean, if we didn't like people, you probably wouldn't have chosen to get in this business, right? The other 98%, the other 2% become REO listing agents, right? They just hide their cubicles and they just have their 2 email accounts and do it that way. But for inherently, most people, you know, we like being around people, and there are inherent strengths in that, but also inherent weaknesses that come along with that generally, is that we're not generally the most organized and, you know, people in the world. Some of us are better than others, but we tend to, I think I talked about it with, if I told this story to you guys or not, we have several different people who do file compliance in our office, right? And so they look at files as agents, you know, files come in, and they are constantly just like, hello, same checklist. It's been the same checklist for, you know, 5 years now. We need to, they act like they're surprised that I need this document and I'm not releasing their, you know, disbursement authorization because, you know, this document's not here. And I don't know why they're surprised by it. And how could you not just go get it all done in one shot? I mean, it just, why wouldn't you do it that way? It makes complete sense to me, is what they're telling me. I said, well, so you got to realize, you're doing what you do for a reason, all right? You like knowing that you're going to put in so many hours of file compliance review, and I'm going to pay you regardless, right? Oh, yeah. I said, the very type of person who's going to wake up this morning and potentially work 12, 14, 15 hours today and not know if it's going to even result in a paycheck or not, okay, that type of person is generally not the same type of person that's very well organized and has, you know, likes all their I's dotted and T's crossed, because people who like their I's dotted and T's crossed want to know that if I'm going to work 12 hours, then come hell or high water, I'm going to get paid for my 12 hours, right? And so, yeah. I said, so there's risk reward in that. So you got to realize that these are the type of people that we're dealing with, you know, me included. I'm that type of person that I was never necessarily the best at my, you know, I was like, hey, let me go write another contract. That's why I ended up hiring that out and, you know, just paid Maureen at the time when I was an agent doing my stuff to just clean up my files. So, hey, just make sure I got everything in, whatever documents we need. I'm off selling another house. You know, and then go have another party someplace with somebody and let's go make this happen. And, you know, let's go have a lot of fun and sell a house. And so with that in mind, we got to understand those weaknesses and we don't rely on them, like Buckingham would say. We don't have to necessarily get better at them. I didn't really get better at that. I just hired it out, right? I just learned to manage around it and parlay one of those strengths and let someone else. Remember, way back, it was in lesson 3 or lesson 4. It goes, the concept that actually somebody would love what you loathe is so foreign to us, right? Because we're so myopic, we're so self-centered and self-focused that how in the world could someone love sitting in a cubicle doing file compliance all day? You know what I mean? But they actually would, you know, and enjoy doing that. So that being said, try and focus on what you're good at. All right, get rid of what you aren't good at. When I say get rid of it, has to be done, then it has to be done, then find a way to work around it. All right, and really tend to do that. It can change. You know what I mean? And learn to say no. Remember how you get this, you know, because eventually what happens is you start moving up and doing different things. You're going to start to rise to the top, and then you're going to be, and people are going to want to move you into different positions and do these different things. Hey, that's really cool. I mean, for years I was only in Keller Williams' office 1 year, but you know, I was knocking things out. I was, you know, wherever I was making things happen. I was selling a lot of houses, right? So you get noticed in any office when you're selling a lot of stuff, and they all, you know, of course, I was natural, perfect team leader material in their eyes, right? And my first thought was, man, you know, if I go to do that, I appreciate you thinking about me, and you got the thought process going, but I'm starting my own game. All right, that's just, you know, I'm not going to be your team leader, make $30,000 a year. All right, thanks, but I can't afford the salary cut from selling, number one. Number two, if I was gonna build a business, I'm just gonna go out and do our own. So, you gotta learn to say no sometimes too, even though it's flattering to get the offer and so on and so forth. So, put people on their strengths. So, learn to do that. Okay. All right. So, here's the deal. Again, do it, do it, do it. All right. Test me on this. Be a Julie Brantley. Hold out for 8 weeks and finally give in and meet 50. All right. If you are now, remember the goal was, we remember way back that we teach the corn planting in the orange groves, right? That I wanted more for you because all I did was plant corn my whole career. Now, that being said, I think I downplayed it maybe a little too much because if you need, it's not that the corn can't become potential orange grove people, right? I said, well, I don't have anybody on my list to develop deep relations. Remember, we're going deeper with a few rather than shallow with many, right? We've said that 100 times. Well, if you don't have anybody to go deeper with, then go meet some people. Young lady last night in the Orlando meeting was telling me that she went and looked for ways to meet, to have interactions with people. And look for ways that you have interactions, not real estate interactions per se, but look for ways to have interactions. She was sitting at a bank-owned open house on Saturday. Went and heard me say one time, hey, look, when I would go stick my signs in the yard, if I was going to use somebody's yard, I'd go knock on the door and ask permission just to be polite and look for another chance to say, there's interaction, right? Here's a chance to interact with somebody. So she knocked on the door, and sure enough, the guy was there. He said, oh, go for it, no problem. Well, here's my card. Hey, that's no problem. That's great. Tell me about the house. It's around the corner, 2 streets over, whatever. That's great. And then she followed up with a power number. Hey, just want to say thanks for letting me do it. I had a great open house, and I appreciate it. Hopefully it'll be okay. I might be having one this weekend. By the way, if there's anything I can ever do for you, don't ever hesitate to give me a call. Bam. Boom. Just another, what it takes just to have that interaction. Who knows it's a seed, right, out there. Who knows what might happen. But there's a chance to interact when normally she may have passed that up. All right, so just look for opportunities to interact. We talk about having one-on-one meetings, right? That's our, you know what? Go have them. That's fine, but sometimes they can be pretty spontaneous one-on-ones as well. All right, and they may ask you, what's your biggest hurdle right now? And the answer is money. Right? And so that's right. Yeah, it is, and that's, you know what? A lot of times they're focusing, it all comes back to it. Do it. All right, so bank-owned open houses, converting that walk-in traffic. And there's no secret to this. Be you. All right? I'm looking around the room, and I know each of you now. I don't know you, in-depthly or intimately, but I know that you guys are very personable people, that if you walked in the door, if someone walked in the door, your goal would be, how can I help? You know what I mean? I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm here to help you. What's your struggle right now? Are you an investor? Or are you a first-time home buyer? Are you just looking? Are you looking for your daughter? That's all you're doing. There's no way to teach this. There's no script to use when somebody walks in the door other than make them feel, hey, you know what? You're here to help. Be different than other realtors. All right? If someone's looking at a script card that they got from their Centric 21 training, okay, you win. Trust me, because nobody wants to deal with somebody who's working from a script card. They want to say, hey, look, you know what? I'm afraid to admit it, but I think my credit really sucks. Hey, no problem. You know what? I've been there. All right? Been there, done that. I'm with you. All right? Let's see if we can help you out of this thing. All right? I've helped a lot of people this way. Or I know a guy who's helped a lot of people. Me. All right? You can say, you know a guy. So even if you've never helped anybody out of that situation, you now know me. All right? So I know a guy. All right? I know a guy can help you out of, that's done a ton of that stuff. Because you put them in a credit counseling situation that's a good, it's just, there's so many different, because people, man, they just want people to help. All right? And that's all you do there, is just help. All right? It's not that difficult. And I look around the room and I know all you guys can do a great job of that. We talked about that, you guys give me the investor buying class, all right? Where we talk that language of the investor. It's pretty simple, right? We sit there and say, hey, look, I know, what are you looking for? Do you really care about where the property is, or do you care about ROI? Are you talking about, what's the cap rate going to be on this thing, and how are we going to increase its cash flow? Oh yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Does it really matter where it is? Can we expand the search out a little bit? You said you've been looking for a triplex, but you haven't found one. How about if we expand it out? What if we had to go to Plant City to find one? What if it cash flows, right? Yeah, you're right, and so we go out there. Working with first-time home buyers, again, that's, again, eliminating your competition, right? There's lots of people that don't want to work with them, so just go work with them. All right, we'll get into that. Here's the thing. Well, biggest question I get, how do I get more listings? And read the post on 100K. Both the ones that we got real excited one had 20 people through, the other one had 50 people through. They both have listing opportunities out of sitting in a bank-owned open house. Okay? My big answer to that, you want more listings? Go work with more buyers. Huh? What? It will lead you to listings. All right? Remember we talked about this last time. It's totally backwards of what other Realty, if you're going to last in this business, you better list, right? That's like was written the day after chapter 475, I think, or something like that. So, whatever they created that Florida statute, and it was ingrained in me. I'll trust it. I got in real estate in 1994, and it was drilled in me about the second day I got in business. All right, and it drilled in me, and I never followed it. Thank God, because I chose a different path. But I get it. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with listing. But the day I decided I was going to make a big change, Jeanette, I almost said my wife, but Jeanette will tell you, the day that I decided I was going to change who I was, and I'm tired of working with these first-time home buyers. I see they all have problems. I'm whining, to her. I'm tired. I'm working my tail off to sell these $50,000 homes. And the guy, selling 4 homes is selling as much as I am when I'm selling 100, homes because he's selling a different, type of home than I am. I'm going to change who I am and start wearing because I usually wear shorts and a polo. You know what I mean? The polo shirt is kind of the way I roll. But my first-time home buyers, that's the way they dug me. All right, and that was good for me. And so I started wearing a suit every day, and I'm going to change myself. I'm going to become this, high-end listing agent. 4 months I tried that. Okay, and in 3.5 months, I was working as a night auditor at a hotel. All right, from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. trying to make some money, all right, to make up for the 4 months that I had screwed up and let my pipeline go away because I was going to reinvent myself as a real estate agent. And because that wasn't my strength, right? Wasn't a strength of mine anyway, obviously, right? So I'm working, and so for a month and a half, 2 months, I told you, I'm in, how they are. When they hire you, they're fearful you're just going to get your money and then leave, which is all I was after. I just needed to pay a few bills, and I was going to bail as soon as I get a couple sales under me. Right? But I did, I got to that point where I just tried to reinvent myself. So just make sure, if you want to be that listing agent, that's good. If that's your strength and that's the way you roll, awesome. That's great. I just found that for me, it didn't work. All right? And I had a lot more fun wearing shorts and polo and working with these kind of people. I really did. By doing it. And use a strength. You got interior decorating, experience and some utilize that. As a strength, become, as you're helping a buyer and or a seller, obviously, there's a huge asset that you have that other people don't have. Don't forget our corn planting conference call, all right, that's on Fridays. We still have that, all right, that's still ongoing. It's a good time. Sometimes it lasts 20 minutes, sometimes it lasts 45, just depends on what questions we have. People sharing ideas back and forth. As I told you last time, I think the biggest things we're just overcoming people's excuses. All right, so who's not doing one? Right, not everybody answers because we can tell we have 15 people on the call. Only 3 people say they speak up. The other 12 are just kind of silent and back. But if you who's not doing one that wants to do one? Oh, I do. Okay, great. What's your hurdle? Well, I don't have any signs. Okay, where do we get signs? Well, I don't have one to do. Well, someone else has an extra one over here. Okay, all right. So we keep eliminating their excuses until they either click off and say, okay, forget it. They keep overcoming my excuses, and I'd rather just sit around with excuses. All right. The nice thing is you can join that call and never know you're on or not. All right, it's a beautiful thing. All right. Okay, so last session, I'm going to keep coming back to this because this book is awesome, right? There's great stuff in here. But at the end of the day, if you just implemented just a few little things, all right, you could just totally be where you need to be. I'm just here to tell you that if you did the 4 rituals, all right, remember what those are. You got our morning ritual, get up, we exercise, we do our affirmations, we write in our blessings book. All right, we get things, we exercise, we eat right, and we get our day started correctly. We learn to look at food as fuel, right? As the best line I learned was, do you live to eat, or do you eat to live? Right? And I had to guard myself against that, because my tongue has been trained. By the way, it goes a lot with being broke. All right? I mean, there's studies out there that.
Oh, start.
Yeah, absolutely, right? If you study the eating habits of poverty people, they're terrible. All right, it really is, and that starts the whole cycle. You know what I mean? That's the whole. I told you it's an endless cycle, but it's bad stuff. So you eat right, you exercise, you keep yourself going, you're feeling good about yourself when you walk out the door. Okay. Time block 2 mornings a week. Again, as you learn to do this, if you just start to get control of your calendar, remember, Bob, you keep saying the same thing. Guess what? It's part of the accountability. All right? Now, I don't have anything new. There's nothing new under the sun. I'm just here to remind you of what we need to be doing. Okay, then we sprinkle a little bit of new stuff at the end. But this new stuff at the end pales in comparison to this stuff. All right, I'm just here to tell you that if you time blocked, got control of your day, decided you can commit to 4, oh, by the way, we didn't finish the 4 rituals. Morning, the pre-leave ritual, which is huge. Remember, you're getting that first and 10s knocked out for the next day. First and 10 is basically my to-do list. Things are right there, ready to go. Numbers ready to go, because that next morning, boom, I'm out of there and I'm done. In that first 15, 20 minutes, I'm done what would have taken me an hour and a half to do before. All right? I forgot it. The pre-sleep ritual. All right, just a reflection time, meditation time, prayer time, whatever you want to call it. All right, that's there. And then finally, the Sunday night ritual, which is that once a week, I'm going to plan things out. I'm actually going to have a roadmap to my life. Okay, what an epiphany that is sometimes. Okay, instead of just floating around and just doing whatever I want to do. All right. By the way, let me go back real quickly. I wanted to cover this, and I forgot to do it last night. I want to make sure I do it down. A hard time getting sympathy from me on having to work with buyers and all this kind of stuff, because the systems we have in place now make it pretty easy. I think the whole logic behind not working with buyers came from, if you get a last, if you get a list, comes from the fact of back in the day, you know, buyers agents, they weren't common, you know what I mean? It was all about sub-agency and all this kind of stuff, and plus, you know, trying to find a home within an MLS book and all that kind of stuff, and this is really going way back. Yeah. Okay, so I would get a buyer at an open house, find out what they're looking for. I had a really effective system. I had a little notebook, 3-ring or a spiral binder, all right, that I would create a page for them. All right, John and Susan, looking for 2-bedroom, 2-bath, north of Ulmerton, south of Alderman, anywhere in Pinellas County. So I write their parameters down. Every time I had to go in the MLS to search for them, I had to re-enter their data. I could not save a search for John and Susan. All right, there was no saving search. So I went to the database, put in their data, spit out on a pin-fed printer, all right, with perforated lines, that 98.7% of the time, the things, no matter where I started it, the MLS sheet would not stop it at the perforation. So half of the listing would be on one top of the perforation, the other half at the bottom. Remember those pin-fed printers you know what I'm talking about? You know, dot matrix. All right, one of those, okay. All right, so I go through, I print them all out, all right, get with their list, here's their initial search. I would have to cut them, right, individually, all right, and put them in order, and then 2 things I do at that point. I would go through this list, because there's no way to sort them, all right, other than, you know, in the system first, you just print them as they came out. I don't know how they chose them, just randomly, they just print them out. And then I would have to sort them in areas for them, right, myself. And then I would go through and find the highest MLS number and write that down next to John and Susan and the date. Okay, today is 10/20, All right, 1021, and I'd write MLS 7060342. Right? Perfect. Then I would go hand deliver this list to John. Now here's the thing. I got to thinking about this. Think of a way, I'm just throwing an idea out there. I complain about this, right? Because I said I want to hear your complaints. Because I would have to go hand deliver. And a lot of times I would hand deliver. I'd either drop it off at their house, stick it in their door, and call them and say, hey, look, there's something in your door. Because I couldn't email the list to them. Nobody had email. There wasn't email capability in the MLS at that time. You even had email. So I'd print this list and I'd go hand deliver. A lot of times I would go hand deliver to them at work. But I got to thinking, do you know how many deals I picked up from their coworkers as they saw me hand delivering a list to work? Now again, you're not going to print these out and go do this, right? I'm not saying do this. But is there a way? We talked about it briefly with Brian Heckman. I know, like when they get their mortgage approval, that you just, spend $4 at the dollar store and go hand deliver, balloons, congratulations, mortgage approval, and make a little getty out of that. Why? So people can see that happen, especially if they work in an area where there are other people just like them who, like you, remember that line, right? Who, like you, is working in a cubicle that I could help, right? So, but I would go hand deliver and I would get introduced to their cubicle mates, their team leader, their boss. I would get introduced to these people it never hit me until just now when I was thinking about that. I was complaining about the fact that I had to go get that and do it, right? So I would print these out, go do it, and then 3 days later, anything new on the market, Bob, go re-enter their same data. I couldn't go back and save search for John and Susan. Re-enter their same data, look it up, and then go through and find the 2 MLS numbers that were newer than the last MLS number I had written next to their thing. It's the only way I can find the new ones on the market that had come on. And if there had been price changes, I wouldn't have noticed, all that kind of stuff. So you don't get a lot of sympathy from me. All right. Now again, I stayed in the business. I was doing it long enough that I started to experience the new system. And quite frankly, I still sold 100 homes a year. And when the new system came in place and I could email them automatically, I sent them a database and they would automatically send them updates and all that kind of stuff. I was selling 100 homes a year, and I golfed 3 times a week on the time that I used to spend doing this other stuff. All right, it was kind of cool, you know what I mean? So I kind of felt like I got all sorts of time back. But I was thinking about this as I was doing it, is that did I maybe lose some business because I was no longer going in and hand them a list and say, oh, who's that? Oh, that's my realtor. Wow, well, he just hands, that's kind of cool. Are you buying a home? You know what I mean? And so the conversations got started, and I would just start, hey, you know what? We're renting right now. And we're just, it was, so think about that. There might be some, it's the old theory that the worst thing that ever happened in the United States of America or to our communities in general was the garage door opener. Because now we can totally avoid people, right? Before, in the 50s, you see these stories, whatever it is, people getting out, hey, John, hey, what's house? You know what I mean? You had to interact with see people, you know what I mean? Now you can live and never see a person, right? Why are you guys laughing? Is it true?
Oh, sure.
What?
She goes to her garage, I'm in the driveway.
See your buddy.
Oh, yeah. Always all kinds of for dog going in my garage.
But is it because you don't have room in your garage?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
It's 'cause your
Because I
garage-
have toys from all the friends that I met that come and
Right,
that
see?
I have and let's play with toys.
There you go. But the key is that you're out and about. You probably have more friends with toys than you do because you get to see more. It's just that we've become real reclusive, right? And it's real easy to do because we just open up our garage door, we go in, we shut our garage door, and we're in our house. And so the whole front porch concept. That's why they're building these new communities are making it a big deal when they're right. These self-contained celebration and all those versions thereof that have all. Hey, look, this is self-contained. You can ride your bike to the store and all this it's becoming a big fad because it's really cool to be able to do that and you actually have some interaction with people. That being said, same concept. now that we can email and automatically update people with their listings and all kinds, we've lost the ability to go hand deliver. And now we've lost the ability to interact with people that they know by doing it. So maybe think of some ways, and maybe we can kind of put that out there on the Facebook group page so we can all think of some creative ways that we could make excuses to go actually interact again, all right, as opposed to virtually. I mean, what the pyramid of communication says, right? What's better? Is a face-to-face better than electronic communication, even in delivery, right? And so, the thought as you do that. So, all right, so time block 2 mornings a week, average 2 hours a week, your hour power. Now, hour power is just connection with people, all right? Could be phone calls, could be note writing, all right? Could be just thinking of creative ways to go out and meet people and do that, whatever it is, all right? It's interaction. Hey, and then remember the goal at the end of the hour power, at the end of any contact with somebody is to have an action item. How can I help? All right, you make more money. How can I help make more money? All right, which is using their biggest hurdle, right, to overcome. So we're gonna have a one-on-one meeting. We talked about that. Call 3 past clients, and find an action item. That's all part of that hour power. But just start with that even. All right. Go, hey, it's been a while. I know we haven't talked in a while. Just checking with you. Want to see how things are going and everything I can help you with. It's the biggest challenge right now. All right, be different. All right. Use the chosen one script. And the chosen one is that, hey, you know what? Here's kind of a question out of the blue. If you had a friend that was, or somebody you know that was looking to buy or sell real estate, who would you recommend they use? That's that chosen one script, right? And you got to be prepared for the answer because sometimes it may not be you. But Michael, did he cover this in the? We'll talk about the event in a second. Did he cover that in the live event that it's better to know? Did he cover that concept? I remember the first time when we brought him in, he covered the concept of we're afraid to ask that question because we don't want to know, right? And the reality is it's better to know. Even if it's not you, it's better to know, right? If it's not, it's better to know if they've got a brother-in-law in the real estate business, all right, it's better to know that than pour a ton of effort into something that may not, because we're here to produce results for ourselves, right? Yeah. So it's just, that's the side benefit of having the chosen one script as well. The RAS, remember the reticular activation system? That's that little fancy word. All right. That's the one where we're going to say, hey, you know what? You ever notice when you're looking for a car, all of a sudden now you decide you're going to buy a BMW. Now all you can see is BMWs around. You became really attentive to that. Right? 3 weeks ago, before we started working together, you probably never even heard of people that were looking or buying or selling houses. But now that you're in the midst of it, now that you're buying or selling, now that we're helping you find a home to buy, now your antenna's up and you're going to hear somebody 4 aisles over, all right, that is going to be talking about real estate. You're going to all of a sudden hear it where you wouldn't have heard it if they were right behind you last 3 weeks ago. So hey, when that happens, I'd love the introduction. I'm sure the same way, I would. So utilize that kind of stuff. Have that kind of fun with that because that's happening to them. All right, that is absolutely. I'm a firm believer that's happening to them. And the Michael Mayer event, how'd that go? By the way, okay, awesome stuff. How many people were in the room? How big was it?
It was actually more than I thought it was
Yeah.
going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably about 80.
Yeah.
Is it 80 or so? 80?
Yeah, maybe 70, 80. Yeah.
Okay. You're sitting around.
There's probably maybe 10 tables of
Yeah.
7, 8.
Okay, gotcha. So 80.
Yeah,
And
something about that. Yeah.
And you said we had about 30 there?
You were there?
Yep, it was in the back.
I didn't see you. I was in the back.
See?
I was in the center
You sat at
back.
the same table.
Yeah.
No, I was sitting with a bunch of future home agents. We had probably 1, 2, 3, 4. We had like 5 at the tables.
Nice.
Not all of us. But there was a couple of people brought somebody.
Right.
Oh,
But
you were on the other side.
we had at least 30. I was
Oh,
directly
okay.
in the center,
You're on the other side
facing the
where?
screen.
Oh.
I was in the very back table, straight on.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Who else? Who went? No. Mark, you went?
Yep.
Awesome. And did you go to the
Yeah,
other
it's
one?
next to his table.
May 1st?
What's that?
Did you go to the one we had way back in May?
I didn't have my license then. I wasn't.
Okay, gotcha, right. It was totally off your radar. Your reticular activation system was not.
It wasn't.
Too bad. Aside from the book, was there any big aha that you took away?
Yes,
Kind of
And
takeaway?
I told him the
Okay.
story.
Awesome, good.
I can talk to him afterwards, which
Good.
was very cool. He was
Yeah.
very, by the time I got to him,
you know, I said, you know what, I'm sure you're tired of stories and hearing and talking and listening, and, you know. But of course, told him, you know, that I was there for you. Told him the story. Then I was like, and the first person I answered came up with money, and the second one was time, and I was mad at you.
Right.
And, you know. Well, he expounded on that.
Awesome. What did he say?
Okay. And I wonder if I wrote it down. I know I wrote it down somewhere where I wrote it. But when he talked about
Let's back it up for a second. What she did, if you remember, she had a one-on-one with somebody, and then she said, "Hey, what's your biggest challenge right now?" And the answer was money, right? And the second person was time. I need time.
I was like,
Like, oh, great. She goes like, Bob told me it was gonna be like, I need a ballet school for my daughter.
Yeah.
You come with money. All right, okay, yeah. Right,
I'm like,
exactly.
money?
That's
Really?
not in the script.
Yeah.
All right, so then she told Michael that story, and then Michael
Yes,
says,
because in, you know, his event, he brought that up about what is your biggest challenge, but then, and maybe you can help me with these questions that he went with afterwards, because I'm not sure, I know I wrote it down, I just can't figure out where, but basically saying to them,
is it what's important to you about that?
yes, how, that's not it.
Why is that important to you?
How can I make this a win for you?
How can I make this a win for you? Yeah, okay. What's your biggest challenge? What have you done to, okay, that's the second
That's
question.
it.
It's like, what have you done to?
Up to this point, what have you done
try
to
to
right to
accomplish it?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, right, and then.
What's your next step?
What's your
What's-
next step? Yeah.
So
I
it's just
mean,
the whole process of it. Yeah.
This is, you know, I wrote this
So-
down, look at this, because it says that. What's your biggest challenge right now? So what have you tried so far?
Yeah.
And what are you gonna do next?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's basically, I think there was one
Here it
more
is.
in there
What
that
have
you
you tried so far to conquer that challenge? Okay, and then what are you going to do next? Exactly. So that was a biggie for me because of, you know, not having an answer after they said time,
right.
money. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I feel your pain.
Yeah, me too.
Right, that's, you know what, and I forgot all about that, because
Yeah.
at the end of his book, he challenges us to go into that one website and see a video. I don't know if you've read the very end, where is it? Because that's where I wrote this down. Because I hadn't even met him before when I read the book the first time. Where is it?
Yeah, like a 0.5 too.
Oh yeah, at the very bottom.
3.5.
7lbook.com/forgotten strategy.
Yeah. What page is that?
It's on, let's see, here. Where's it? I wrote it, it's a whatever that is, footnote on page 153. At the bottom of the footnote, it says footnote 20. And my eyes are so poor, I can't see where footnote 20 comes from, but it's www.7lbook.com/forgotten strategy. And it's him just doing a quick little 7-minute video.
You just wrote my book.
And you know what he covers in that? He covers that they, the cool thing about when you do that with them, that a lot of times they will self-discover their own solution.
That's what you're saying.
But you're in front of them and you're doing the guiding questions to help them self-discover, so the solution will be attributed to you.
Right.
All right? That you get attributed to the solution because you happen to just ask the right questions. You kind of probe a little further. So I forgot all about that.
So yeah,
That's
that was good to know where to go when
Right.
you get. Well,
awesome.
first of all, you can do it all the time, but
Right.
particularly when you get that kind of thing.
Right, well, something like that, you don't have a direct
It's
answer.
a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
more common.
Right.
I'm glad
that
to hear that a lot.
Right. And that's probably true. So that's good. Awesome.
Yeah.
Very good. And thank you
That
for
was my
reminding
big
me
aha.
about that. Awesome. That's good. And you find him pretty genuine when you met him?
Really was.
Yeah,
He
he's
really,
pretty down to earth
He
guy.
was.
Yeah.
He was. He was very good, you know, throughout the whole event, very, you know, knows how to connect with everybody and.
You gotta realize, Michael now lives in Atlanta, all right? Yet he sells 150 plus homes a year in Kansas City.
Really?
Yep.
So
His team does.
Yeah, Kansas City's his place.
Yep. Kansas City is where he sells,
Right.
but he and his family now live in Atlanta. All right? And he's got a team there that he's built his name and he's built his brand, and that's what he does. And so he just continues to get referrals there and services them well enough, and he makes phone calls and still follows up and does all that stuff from a distance, but he's not the guy that's out there. And we talked about how can you create a business out of this business? I firmly believe that Michael has already proven that, not just because he wrote a book, that's a separate business, but he has created a real estate business out of his real estate business. And a true definition of a business is something that happens when you're not there, right? There's a great book. If you want to get a great book to read, I'm a big Robert Kiyosaki guy. I referenced it in Rich Dad Poor Dad, right, about when we talk about investors. But he has several follow-up books. He has a purple section in Barnes & Noble now, right, that all looks like that. But there's one, his second book was called Cash Flow Quadrant. Awesome book. Changed my life. The Cash Flow Quadrant. Can I borrow a piece of scrap paper? Somebody have a piece of
Sure,
Okay.
some piece here.
Since I don't have it on the PowerPoint.
Just one?
Yes, one, and I borrow it. And I won't write it. So.
Okay.
Okay. Make a cross, make a chart, like a quadrants. Okay. All right. Upper right hand corner, E. All right.
Upper left.
Sorry, upper left hand corner, E. Lower left, S. Upper right, B. Lower right, I. Okay? This will blow you away. This has changed my life. Okay? The left half here, E stands for employee. So write that below there, employee. The book shows you in that book the least effective way to make money. Right? Somebody's only going to pay you the bare minimum they have to pay you to keep you from walking out the door. All right? And going someplace else to do it. It's the least effective way to make money, is being an employee. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, here's the one that rocked my world. Because I was doing well as a real estate agent. The second lowest level is self-employed. All right? This book, and he uses real estate, he even references real estate agents. He says, people get magnanimous about themselves because they're self-employed, but the operative word in self-employed is not self, but employed. Okay? And he says, real estate agents are famous for this. It's like, dadgummit, I was reading this, I remember in 1998, 9 or something. I was like, son of a... real estate agents are famous for this because, by definition, you're still trading hours for dollars. It may be at a higher level, all right? But the reality is, if you're not out there doing the work, it's not happening. If something happened and you were laid up in a hospital bed for 6 months, what would happen to your business? Okay? And that was an eye-opener for me. Okay? It was huge. So being the S, that's self-employed, was because now where you want to live is on the right side of the quadrant. B stands for business owner. And I is investor. Okay? Now, when you're a B, as a business owner, you have E's working for you. Right? So you want to be a B. You want to have a business. Michael right now has people in Kansas City selling houses under his name, and he's not there. That's a business. All right? Other real estate agents in Kansas City probably sell as much as he does, but they're S's. Because they're out there doing it and making it happen, right? Are you with me? See the difference? And then, and there's nothing, and there's nothing wrong with, by the way, you're way ahead being an S than an E, because you're controlling your own destiny, you can pay what you want, the harder you work, the more you make, and all that kind of stuff. There's value in that, yet you're still trading hours for dollars. Don't lie to yourself, okay? I was lying to myself. I was magnanimous, thought I was all that in a six-pack and a bag of chips. All right, I was, and I realized that, hey, look, if something happened to me and I couldn't do this for 6 months, couldn't sit open houses for 6 months, my business would go to hell in a handbasket, right? It really would. And so I had to become a B. So I started to treat my real estate business as a B, and then I ended up starting a real estate company. But there are ways, like Michael has done, to create a real estate business out of your real estate business, right? An actual B business. And then eventually want to get to the point where you're just living off your income. I mean, you're just making money off your money. right? Your investments are just churning over. So that's where you want to be. You want to be I. That's where you want to be I. All right, isn't it? The B and the I. Matter of fact, when I started buying real estate, I started a holding company, LLC, that held all our real estate, and the name of the company was Right Side Holdings, because I wanted to be on the right path. That side, I'd read this book, so it was called Right Side Holdings. I wanted to be on the right side of the water to do it. So, but yeah, because we don't want you to, you know what? I think early on we talked about in this class, and say, hey, you know what? Learn to make a bee out of your, you know what? A true orange grove. All right, a true one, the bigger it gets, can actually, remember we talked about the idea would be eventually where our whole acreage is all oranges, and not only are we just going up and picking the fruit, not cutting down the source, but we're actually picking the fruit, not cutting down the source, or even better, we're sitting on the porch sipping iced tea, remember? And someone else is picking the fruit, all right, if they're your orange trees, okay, that's what Michael does in Kansas City, those are his orange trees. Someone else is picking the fruit, and they're willing to pay him 25% of that because it's his fruit. All right, and so that's where he's sitting back doing some other things and doing it. So there is a way to create a business out of the real estate business and not make it just an S. Now it takes time. I'm not saying this is overnight, okay? But we got to have a game plan in mind, right? And so if we can get from, you guys are already here, so that's awesome, all right? Because there's a lot of people that are stuck in here. Some of you are already here. So that's good, but now how do we get to here? Now again, some of the E's, there's some very E's that are very disciplined and do a good job, and they can get all this kind of stuff, and they become living off of I's, right? They can save up their money and become, living off of I's. So that's Millionaire Next Door is a great book you can read about. Hey, just being slow and steady wins the race. It's a series of base hits. It's not hitting a grand slam. All right, it's just, you know what, little base hits, little base hits, little base hits, little base hits, little base hits. Jeanette tells me all the time about little base hits because I'm a kind of a grand slam kind of guy, right? But I try to hit a grand slam with nobody on base. And by the way, if you don't know baseball, you can't hit a grand slam with nobody on base because there has to be three bases full before you can hit a grand slam. So, with that in mind, a huge eye opener for me. If you get a chance to read that book, it's been around since at least 1998, 1999. It's an awesome book. Thank you very much. Mark, any takeaways from the event that they unique from the book, or just kind of reinforcing in the book, or?
I think the biggest thing for me is being someone doing the business. I just need to build my database up so I can meet more people.
Yep.
Because then it'll. Branch out.
That's perfect. And the cool thing is being new to the business is that as you're building the database, you can keep it graded along the way. Like he talks about grading your database, and you can keep it the way it's supposed to be from the very get-go. Right. Sometimes people that have these huge databases, it becomes so daunting to them to go back and grade their database that they end up not doing it.
Right.
All right. So it's a cool thing is you can kind of just do it right from the beginning.
I started doing that.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
And you go, hey, look, that's probably a potential ambassador. That guy's probably more of a champion. That you kind of have these, whether what you call them that or not doesn't matter. But it's just that's the idea. Yeah. That's in play. That's awesome. Cool. Good deal. Well, good. Jim.
I'd like to parlay off that, and I like the concept of the 150 on the database.
Yeah.
Because that just
Yes.
when he breaks it down, it makes complete sense of how many touches you can have out of just 150. That's like you can't even control that. That's almost too big.
Right.
So why would you want thousands of people in your database that you're treating like A's?
Right. You're fooling yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You don't need that.
No.
You can't handle that much business. Nobody could.
Right. Because 150 represents 22.5, right?
Yeah.
22,500.
Yeah.
Is there 150? Those 150 know 150. All right. And, 150 squared is 22,500. So there's plenty of real estate happening within that group.
Yeah.
22,500 that are there. So that's awesome. Great. Very good point. That's true because we think of a database as huge. Oh man, I got to mail out to all 10,000 people in my database. No, don't have 10,000 people in your database. Pare it down. Cull it. Right. Get it to the real database.
He's talking about quality over quantity.
There you go.
That was one of his main things. He's like, the quantity will come once you have the quality.
That's it. Did he discuss at all about how some of the best ambassadors are usually business owners and goal-oriented people, right?
He said salesman.
Yeah, exactly. Because they get it, right?
Yeah.
They understand reciprocity, right? Because hey, look, that's so. Those are the kind of people you really. I mean, So that's awesome, you had a one-on-one, so maybe make the next one-on-one somebody that's a little more goal-oriented instead of just like, sure, but you know what, but you did it, that's cool.
Yeah, it was just,
You know?
it just kind of happened. It wasn't even
That's
anything I sought out, so.
Right, perfect.
You know.
And that's good, and
There
that's
was
awesome.
no guinea pigs.
Yeah, that's right, see, and just go have more of those, but then if you're gonna purposely choose them, then choose people that are salespeople, goal-oriented, business owners, those kind of people, not, stay away from the E's in particular, you know what I mean? Go to S, B's, and I's, that are gonna be a better source for you, as you do it, so cool, awesome. All right, I'm gonna call through, reread, page, chapters. By the way, here's what we do, on, coaching session 5, failure to communicate, he has an eye-opening experience, remember when he, Rick calls his, client, I think it's a friend from college, right, and she's, oh, Rick, it's a problem, we were just talking about you last night, because we didn't use you. You know what I mean? That one of those calls, and we're all getting, if you haven't experienced it yet, it'll happen, right? And so, remember, and so he stayed calm and all that kind of stuff, but it's the failure to communicate issue. Go from marketer to communicator, he covers this in the book. Reread these sections, because he says, you market to strangers, in fact, yeah, there you go. You market to someone, a stranger, but you communicate with your community. Okay? You don't market to the 150, you communicate to them. All right? You market to 20,000. All right? But you communicate with 150. Does that make sense? And reread that section because it's so vital, because it's so true. Because there's no way we start to think, hey, how am I going to communicate with 3,000 people? You don't. All right? But you can communicate with 150. 150 people you could technically call, once a month. If you got to that many, you wouldn't have to do that. All right, but you could certainly call them once a quarter. Right? That's very doable. And talk to them and have some proactive communication means you're communicating with a plan. It's not just, hey, let me check it off my list. There's actually something to do. There's a reason behind it. All right, you graded your database. We've talked about paring that down to the 150. All right, who are the true ambassadors? Plan out your year of communication. This is pretty kind of advanced level stuff. All right, I'll be honest with you. I think if you started doing some of the other stuff, plan out, and that's when he goes through and says, hey, look, you can take your 12 success stories that you wrote and you send out one to, basically, take your 12%, or 8% of your database and send out success story 1, and then you just kind of alternate them through. And kind of, if you're real, if you're into that kind of organization stuff, follow that pattern. It's a great pattern to have. To do it, and that's what the success series is. Coaching session 6, we went through 2 of these. You should have called. That's on page 113. You remember in that story where he got an email back from the first-time home buyers who said, you know what, we had already agreed upon, negotiated, and we're final time to make the offer, and we were talking about it, and we decided we're not going to change our mind. It's like, what the heck? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, WTF, what happened? And the coach said you should have called. There are certain things that you don't do. How long would it take you 45 minutes to go over there and say, let's go over the contract and make sure you understand everything and sign? That's a big deal. Sometimes, especially when you start to sell a lot of homes, you get out of the realm of, hey, you know what? This is a big flippin' deal to these people. For 98% of America, it's the biggest financial decision they'll ever make. All right, it's it's a transaction to us, right? We can't forget that, and we can't get too flippant about that. And I think Rick did in this case, and just assume that, hey, no big deal, it's a contract. I read those things every day. Well, it's all Greek to them, right? So you need to be able to go through it. And by the way, the contract we use at Bar, it's pretty straightforward. And they've actually done a fairly good job of not making it too legalese. There aren't too many wherefores and thereabouts and henceforths and that kind of stuff. And they're, they've done a fairly good job. The contract actually reads fairly well. A, you need to be able to read it yourself. Okay, number one. Number two, be able to explain, concepts to them. If it's something that's really deep or if it's really intricate, and say, hey, let's check the FAR legal hotline, or let's call an attorney, to do that. But for the most part, it's pretty much says what it says. All right. Speaking of which, once again, don't forget that your financing contingency goes away 7 days prior to closing. I don't care what you do. All right. I don't care, but we notified him, and Jim can attest to this. Biggest problem we're having, right? Biggest issue is that, yeah, but there was a debate about what was gonna get fixed in the contract, and there was an appraisal issue, so we were up in the air, we were trying to get the appraisal fixed, and so on and so forth, and all doing that. Now it's 4 days before closing, and the appraisal couldn't get fixed, and the contract's pretty clear that unless you deliver this notice within 7 days, up until the commitment period and/or 7 days prior to closing, whichever comes first, okay? Which now past 7 days prior to closing, you pretty much lost the financing contingency or all of these outs out of the contract. If you're representing the buyer, be aware of that. You know, Jim recommends to our agents all the time to have a cancellation sign ready to go. Hey, we're negotiating this time, but I'm just so you know, in order to protect your earnest money, if we don't get this resolved before 7 days prior to closing, we're sending this bad boy in. You can always rewrite a new contract if it comes back through, we can get it resolved, but I want to protect your earnest money. You know, if they say, no, don't send it in, well, okay, you understand that your earnest money could be at risk here. Yes, I understand that. Get that in right. What's that?
Is it 7 days prior?
But yeah, 7 days prior.
Yeah.
Yep, is what FAR bar and the FAR bar as is both read the same way regarding that. So, and a lot of times we get, hey, we think we're going to get it worked out, and that's fine, but just in case.
Yeah, I say to have it on every time frame. Just have it in the beginning.
Right.
Just be ready.
Yeah.
Because if they agree to fix something in the house and the inspections period is 15 days, and if you don't have the addendum back saying that they're signed saying they're going to fix it, then cancel them 15th day. Say,
Right.
well, get it in writing then.
Right.
We'll move forward if you get it in writing, but as of now, we've got it in, we're covered.
Right, we're covering ourselves if we're going to back
Because
out.
right now, that's the biggest thing everybody's doing is they're saying, oh yeah, my seller agreed to it. They'll even write it in an email for you, but it's not on the contract. It's not signed. I wouldn't take that. It doesn't.
No, it's not.
It means nothing. Get it signed. Get the addendum signed.
Plus, remember the realtor saying that we'll take care of it. Unless the realtor is the owner or the buyer or the seller, they are not a party to the contract. So what they say, I give that $5 will get you a cup of coffee at Starbucks, right?
Yes.
Okay, it doesn't mean anything. All right, so even if somebody would accept an email as an acceptance, let's say a judge would do that, he's certainly not going to do it from the realtor. Because the realtor has no authority.
Yeah, they're being smart and sneaky at the same time. They're just saying yes, you're going to have it.
Right.
And the 15 days go by, and then they say, oh, my seller.
Sorry, now you're out of
My
contract.
my seller said they're not going to do it now.
Yeah.
But there's no out for you.
Right.
So you're still moving forward.
Right. Makes sense? So just be aware. Yeah, be aware of time frames. So anyway, explain these. Don't just call or email contract people. Actually sit down and fill that out. Better yet, go to their office and fill it out at the conference room so everybody else over in their cubicle can ask, what are you doing? Right? Oh, we're writing an offer for you. Who like you works in the cubicle around here, right? That could use my services, all right? Appreciate the introduction. Guaranteed response email, this is one that this is basically the guaranteed response email, if you reread that, was our compelling PS. Remember the compelling PS we encourage people to use in their power notes? Hey, by the way, give me a call sometime, something I want to run by you. That's the PS we decided is a good one to use. That's what the guaranteed response email says. Hey, look, by the way, something I want to talk to you about, give me a call when you get a chance. No big hurry, but give me a call when you get a chance. It's on page 115, example of it. Oh, on page 120, actually. He talks about it on page 115. The exact verbiage is on page 120. And then assignments. Continue on what we're doing, all right? 4 rituals. Get in that habit. Time blocking. Those are just the success principles, okay? Along with the GRE, which is the guaranteed response email, try that on a couple people, all right? Or try it in a power note again, all right? Send another round of power notes to do that. Next meeting, by the way, we had originally scheduled to have 2 more sessions. We're just going to have 1 more, all right? A couple things coming. 11/6, which we're back to a Thursday. I know I'm hopping you guys around a little bit. They move me around with rooms that are available, all right? It's the first Thursday. Prior to that, we're going to have a Why to Incorporate meeting at 9:15. We'll get started here. All right, why you should incorporate. Make sure you come. Invite a friend. All right, because it was one of the biggest. It won't take me even 45 minutes to explain to you why.
What day is that?
Sure, I think it's Thursday, right?
Yes.
No, the same
11-6
day as
still.
the next-
Yeah, I'm sorry, yes.
Oh,
White
okay.
incorporated 915, so we'll do the, White
9:15.
incorporated 915, and we'll roll right into the final 100K, at 10 o'clock.
Okay.
So there's no 11:17?
No, 11:17, I decided that,
We're done with this?
yeah, we'll finish this up. I'm done with you. Exactly. Move on to my next class.
Yeah.
It's all right, move your tassels
That's all I
from one
can
side
say.
to the other. How many times can I say sit a bank, owned open house, and write power notes, all right? Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of new ways to say that. Okay. Why incorporate, and then, don't forget the bank owned seminar, that's gonna be up at, the Hilton Garden Inn in Oldsmar, all right, on 11/19. What it is, it's a bank owned seminar, we're bringing in one of our listing agents who does a lot of bank owned stuff, all right, that's an REO lister, as well as an attorney. And he's gonna kind of go over a lot of the common clauses that he sees in, because we all know these bank-owned houses, do they use the FAR bar? No, they don't. It's the bank contract, right? It's Bank of America's contract, it's Fannie Mae's contract. So he's gonna cover a lot of the common clauses that are in there that are significantly different than what we're used to as a normal transaction. So you can kind of better educate your clients. The listing agent, it's gonna be really good. The listing agent is going to be there to kind of say, hey, look, here's what I'm up against as a listing agent on these things. All right? You guys think that I'm ignoring you. I'm trying to get back to you, but I got 48 people calling me, and I say I want them in a specific format when I get offers. The reason is because that's the bank won't look at them. And quite frankly, if I got 48 offers in, I'm going to choose the 8 to forward to them that are in the right format that I think and ask for, because you're making my job a lot tougher than it needs to be. All right, so she's gonna kind of take a little picture behind the curtain, if you will, of Oz, right, and see what it looks like on the other side, along with this attorney who's gonna explain some of the clauses that you need to make your buyers aware of, including the different types of deed. A lot of times they transfer, hey, we're not gonna give you a general warranty deed, we're gonna give you a specific warranty deed, or special warranty deed. What does that mean? All right, and what's the potential risk and all that kind of stuff that's involved. Things that would be very good for you to know, whether you're sitting in a bank-owned open house, or if you're just having a buyer and you send them a list, and one of them happens to be a bank-owned property that they want to go see and make an offer on. Okay.
No time on that?
Yes, we're going to start at 9:30, probably run until about 11:30, depending on how many questions we have. So 9:30 to 11:30.
Are you gonna post that somewhere to give us?
I'll post it on 100K again, and there will be an email, mass email invite. You know how sometimes we do that. And get a little, matter of fact, we're shooting the video today, right?
Yep.
Okay, we'll shoot the video today. The video invite to that will be, and I'll say, click down here below. All right, it's registered. All right.
Where is it gonna be?
That'll be the Hilton Garden Inn in Oldsmar. It's right on Tampa Road in Oldsmar. There are several. It's right behind Buffalo Wild Wings.
Close to Applebee's.
Close to the Applebee's, exactly. Yep, all that's there. Matter of fact, tonight, after, if you guys want to get to do, after the 100K club at night, several of the ladies have their after 100K special. They all go play trivia over there at Applebee's, and they're just knocking it back, I guess. They're knocking them back and knocking it back. To get it all done. So, speaking of that Applebee's, so they love it. They love it there. Anything I can do for you? Don't forget the conference call on Friday if you want to do the bank owned. I encourage you, if you haven't done one yet, try one. Just go out and do it. You know what I mean? You flub your way through it. Just fumble through, meet 50, and be busier and you know what to do with. Like, what the heck? Why didn't I do this earlier? All right? I don't know. Go ask yourself in the mirror why you didn't do it. Cool. Any questions I can answer for you right now? Thanks for coming, guys. I know it's 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 6 of us. All right. Y'all get A's today. Y'all get A's. Everybody gets A's. Exactly. Actually, you get B's and I's. All right. That's what
Yeah,
there you go.
all right. All right. Awesome. If I can help in any way, let me know. All right. Reach out. Anything we can do. Cool. Super. Have a great day.
Thank you, you do the same.
I'm planning on it.
Oh, good.